Hello, friends. Welcome back. And I just realized that this is not right. And there we go. All right. So, welcome back. Wanted to share a story. I'm actually reading a book, which I'm not going to pick up and show you now, but I will as we progress through this story. But I'm reading a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I read a lot. I read a lot of self-development books. I try to keep my mind occupied and focused on whatever the things are that I need to do to win the day. I'm leaning into expressing and feeling my feelings, my emotions. I find that, or at least I feel like my emotional IQ with other people is really high. And yet I feel like my emotional IQ with myself can be very low. And that's just what I've discovered. But I can always strive for more. I can always lean in and do more. I can always change a muscle or move a muscle, change a thought. And I'm currently doing a program called 75 Hard, which creates obstacles throughout the course of the day for me to get to experience. And anyhow, I was driving the other day to pick up my daughters, and while I was driving back from that, actually, I was driving to them. Why was I driving to them? Because I didn't pick them up. They didn't come back with me. That's what it was. I had to drop off something that my daughter left at my house. And I guess I didn't have to do that, and I guess I could have forced or demanded that my significant other do that for me, but I didn't want to. So I did it, and I happily did it. I want my daughter to have the thing that she needed, so it wasn't really a problem, and they live pretty close, which all of that is intentional, right? So I did the good deed, and as I was driving back, I noticed that there was a couple that had pulled off to the side of the road. They were out of their car, and they appeared to be examining something in the road. And so I knew what it was immediately. I knew it was a turtle. That's not uncommon. Turtles walk into the street all the time, and anytime I've ever seen that happen or I've noticed it, I always stop, pick the turtle up, put it back where it belongs. Because I do not like to see turtles get hit by cars. And unfortunately, that happens all the time. So people aren't paying attention to the road. I've seen them run over turtles, run over ducks. I've seen them hit other people. Rarely, thankfully, that rarely is something I've seen. But I used to train when I was training for iron distance triathlons, half iron distance triathlons to be clear. But we would ride in a bike peloton up and down A1A, and those pelotons could be very dangerous, especially if cars aren't paying attention. And so it's not uncommon in those early morning bike rides for someone to get clipped by a car. And fortunately, that never happened to me, but the risk of getting hit by a car is so extreme that I stopped riding my bike outside. Now I'll either do it on a stationary bike or actually use the peloton inside. And I just don't want to get hit by a car. And it happens all the time. Anyway, back to this turtle. So I see this turtle. I see these people trying to help the turtle, but as I drove past them and I looked at them in the rearview mirror, I noticed that they backed away from the turtle. They did not help the turtle. They got back in their car and they drove away. And the way this road is configured, by the time I noticed that's what was happening, I came across a roundabout. And so I just took the roundabout back and went to see what was happening. And my suspicion was confirmed. I knew it was going to be a turtle. I suspected it was a snapping turtle. And it was. So the people who came out of their car to help this turtle were older than I am. And they looked shook from what I could see in the mirror. And I've helped a snapping turtle before, but I forgot how fast they can move. So I approached the turtle, and normally when you're picking up a turtle, or at least anytime I've ever picked up a turtle on the road, when I go near it, it goes into its shell and it doesn't come out and it's scared and it creates no obstacle for me to put it where it needs to go and hopefully save it. But with a snapping turtle, it's different. And I think I forgot that because when I approached this turtle, it kind of went inward for a second and then it lunged at me, like really, I was shocked. I didn't know that a turtle actually had ups, but this thing's beak lunged at me and almost got me. Thankfully it didn't. But this thing was not happy. It was snapping and it was trying to claw at me. And this turtle has like serious, I was going to say talons, but that's a bird, claws. Like this thing is not happy and it wants to be aggressive. So hence the name, snapping turtle. Anyhow, it scared me at first. I did actually jump back. I understand why those people did not want to continue to try to save the turtle. But after the first lunge at me, I realized exactly what to do. And I picked it up and I put it where it needed to go. And so off I went and I saved the snapping turtle. But this is not the point of this video. That's just a random story that made me think that I thought about when I thought about the title, The Obstacle is the Way, because on that day, that obstacle was the turtle, and I saved the turtle. But I'm looking to save myself, and this book, you can see, it's an older book. It's got like crud all over it. You can see there's a yellow sticky pad in there. I've read this book before. I forgot I had the book, but for whatever reason, when I was looking for something to read, and I have to read every day, or I don't have to do anything, I choose to read every day. I choose to read nonfiction every day, 10 pages minimum. But this was the book that I randomly picked out, and I've got lots of books that are black and about this size, so I wasn't even paying attention to the title. It just so happened that perhaps the divine intervention interceded, and this was the book that I chose. But it's written by Ryan Holiday. The title is The Obstacle is the Way, and I'm not going to read the whole book, but I will read some of the beginning of the book. This thing in front of you, this issue, this obstacle, this frustrating, unfortunate, problematic, unexpected problem preventing you from doing what you want to do. That thing you dread or secretly hope will never happen. What if it wasn't so bad? What if embedded inside, what if embedded inside it or inherent in it were certain benefits only for you? What would you do? What do you think most people would do? Probably what they've always done, and what you are doing right now. Nothing. Let's be honest, most of us are paralyzed. Whatever our individual goals are, most of us sit frozen before the many obstacles that lie ahead of us. We wish it weren't true, but it is. What blocks us is clear: systematic, decaying institutions, rising unemployment, skyrocketing cost of education, and technological disruption. Individually, too short, too old, too scared, too poor, too stressed, no access, no backers, no confidence. How skilled are we? That's not what it says. How skilled we are at cataloging what holds us back. Every obstacle is unique to each of us, but the responses they elicit are the same: fear, frustration, confusion, helplessness, depression, anger. We're dissatisfied with our jobs, our relationships, our places in the world. We're trying to get somewhere, but something stands in the way. So we do nothing. We blame our bosses, the economy, our politicians, other people, or write ourselves off as failures, or our goals as impossible. When really only one thing is at fault: our attitude and approach. And it says a whole lot more than that, but that's just the intro, and I actually truncated out a paragraph of it because I didn't want this to be too much of me reading. But I can relate to that, and the book is about stoicism, And Ryan Holiday does a great job of pointing out different stoics of the past, relating them to things that are happening today. And while that book is not a new book, it's interesting that many of the things that come up as obstacles when he wrote it are the same obstacles that everybody has today, because they're universally true all the time. So I know I read all your comments, and many of you out there are of Christian faith, and many of you out there have pointed out that God or Jesus is the solution, and I definitely don't disagree, but accepting God's will or praying for God's will or Jesus's will is just not something that I intuitively do, right? I also know that my will is typically not right. I know that my self-will run riot is a disaster. And my self-will also has propelled me to a lot of success in many places. But it can become toxic. It can become dangerous. It can become a disaster. And I got to avoid that. So for me, I'm always asking for God. I'm always seeking God's will often. And so prayer is part of my practice. And I appreciate everyone's comments and suggestions and input in the comment section. It means the world to me that I've got people who are concerned, supportive, praying for me. And I do the same. Like, I'm praying for everyone all the time, especially the people who I am most resentful or mad or angry or feeling a certain kind of way about. Those folks are at the top of my list. But it's a practice, it's a discipline, and I like the Stoic approach. I like the tenets of this book, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. Everyone is going to have their own suffering that they experience in life, and life isn't easy, but we'll get through it together. We will win the day, win the week, win the year, win our lives, max out our lives, and that's, I guess, my first book recommendation to anybody who wants an unsolicited book recommendation. So that's it. Hope you have a great day. Look forward to seeing you on my next video. If nobody's told you today that they love you, just know that I do.